Hey, everybody, welcome back. Appreciate you stopping by. And again, wanted to certainly get our guest on today. Some very big news coming out of the city of Chicago a couple days ago. This guy joining me, Troy McAllister, is, well, it's a little weird to say, former coach of Phillips and now the recently hired new head coach of Sandburg. And Troy, first of all, just congratulations on the move.
Thanks, Edgy. I appreciate it.
Gotta imagine certainly not easy for you to leave Phillips, looking back at what you and your staff were able to accomplish. I mean, it was an incredible run. It was a historic run, really, at Phillips, with 2 state titles and a second place finish. And just give us some background. What made you decide that now was the time to move on and kind of broaden the horizons a little bit and head out to the suburbs in Sandburg?
Yeah, I think this past year has really kind of been a challenge for everyone. And we had a lot transpire within our program, and just kind of felt that if I was ever going to make a move, now was kind of the time to do it. And at Phillips, they're in really good hands with Joe Winslow and the rest of the staff. And just for me professionally, personally, being able to get an 8A program that plays in a conference where you're playing, Lincoln Way East, Homer, Florimore, Lockport, Bolingbrook, it's kind of like the situation where, hey, you're going to get to compete and play against the best week in, week out. And, when the opportunity presented itself, I just, talked with the family, and we felt that it was the decision to make. If I was ever going to, push myself to a new challenge professionally, this was the time. And it's never an easy decision. And I think sometimes people get misconstrued, and they don't know the inner workings. They don't know what we've done at Phillips and how we've done it, and just the bonds you create. And at the end of the day, the only people that I felt, responsible to leaving and speaking to were the young men in our football program at Phillips. And that was a difficult task to talk with them and let them know I was leaving. And, at the end of the day, nobody else really matters, just us and the connection we have.
Yeah. And, let's face it, it's coming off a year plus of some very difficult tasks for you and the staff at Phillips, and you've been with those kids through a lot of this. COVID, was it a big factor? Because, Troy, you just look at the landscape right now, and all of a sudden you've got a lot of open positions. You've got a lot of jobs that are available out there that a lot of coaches I talk to will point directly at COVID and say, hey, after everything that they've had to go through and deal with, it wasn't an overriding factor for a lot of guys, but it certainly played a role in them maybe making decisions sooner rather than later as far as what their next step or their future is going to be. Was that the case with you as well, where I'm sure that had to play some sort of a factor?
I think there's so many things that factor in. And COVID was really tough on everyone. But if you just look from a purely football standpoint, within CPS, I think it was probably the toughest of anywhere in the state.
Yeah.
All the restrictions and everything that was in place that we couldn't do. And just the fact of trying to give young men an outlet, that was taken away, and it wasn't taken away from anywhere else. And that was a major frustration and a major just disappointment, because, we're just sitting there saying, like, we just want to give the young men an outlet, and whether it was through training or just getting together and not having that ability was really frustrating all around, because you couldn't provide, part of our job as a coach is being a mentor, and I would say, like, part of my job is trying to take a boy and help him become a young man. And it felt difficult to do that. And that was I don't think it was the ultimate factor, but sure, it all plays a part.
I think people look at this on the surface and go, well, yeah, he's getting out of the public league and he's taking those big bucks out in the suburbs, and they have it great out in the suburbs and everything's wonderful. But again, I think people would be misled. You're going to have some unique challenges at Sandburg.
Yeah, for sure. I think this was not a financial decision in the short term. There's no question. And it was, I consider myself somewhat of a builder, and I felt like this next challenge for me professionally is going to be a daunting task. There's a foundation in place at Sandburg, but there's some things that need to be altered and adjusted to get to the level of success that they want. And that's what we're going to go in and attack and get after it. And I think when you look at the first year, our goal is just to compete and trying to teach the young men in the program, like, hey, we're going to compete in everything we do. And that's a big step forward if we can start doing that.
I mean, let's face it, you were looked at as certainly one of the young up and coming coaches in the public league, and certainly I think one of the leaders in the public league. I mean, just from the success factor alone that you were able to accomplish with your coaches. Talk about the landscape of the public league as far as, there is a core of young coaches that are really trying to get it done. I think of guys like Chris James right off the top at Morgan Park that I'm hoping kind of picks up that mantle from you and takes it forward. And who would some of those guys be in your mind that could be the next group to really step up and try to push public league football forward?
Yeah, for sure. I think you look at Coach Dante at Simeon. They're so close to getting another state championship for the public league. It just we all know sometimes you need the luck of the draw in the bracket, and I kind of feel like with their enrollment dipping a little bit, they're in a much better spot to have the chance to compete for a state championship. And then you've got Q at Kenwood, who's got some unbelievable talent. And now if they can just kind of put it all together, the talent's there for them to make some runs and kind of become the upper echelon of the public league. And then obviously Chris James at Morgan Park. CJ's done an awesome job in a few years, and kind of as he understands the landscape of being a CPS coach, I think it'll make him better and give him a more better chance to compete at the state level. I think they've made a step in the city, but in the end, when you get into the city championship and the Prep Bowl series, you're missing out on the opportunity to compete at the highest level. And I think that's their next step is making some noise in the state.
Talk about challenges coming out of the city to try to win that state title. And I mean, I know there's a million different factors you can point to, but what was one of the keys for you that maybe something, I don't want to say you weren't aware of, but maybe a factor or two that was maybe one of the more difficult ones for you guys to overcome to finally get it done and winning a state title? What were those?
I think just when you look at a coaching standpoint, you're so limited in what you have the ability to do with a coaching staff financially, and being able to find quality men that were willing to work for essentially next to nothing, and some just in a volunteer status. That was a huge step when we were able to do that. And, obviously as we became successful within the program at Phillips and won more games and got a state championship under our belt, it became a little easier to have some wiggle room with coaches, because you could get them to understand, like, hey, you're coming to be a part of something great, and maybe set aside for a year or two the financial component to make a run. And from that, we've had a couple of coaches go on to become head coaches, and because of in a small part their time on the Phillips staff.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, you're still teaching, you're still finishing up, I'm sure, your responsibilities with Phillips, and on the flip side, you're also trying to get things going over at Sandburg. So just fill us in where you're at right now. I gotta imagine rounding out a staff has got to be a top priority.
Yeah. So obviously at Phillips, where the CPS school year runs extra late, so we got 4 more weeks left there, and then now it's just getting to know the staff that's currently in place at Sandburg, and then what's kind of figure out what's available and making some moves to bring in some people that I know and I trust and have a track record with.
Been able to sit down and talk to the team yet at Sandburg, or is that the follow?
That's to come. We're in the process of planning out a parent and team meeting to kind of do the intros and lay out the summer plan so people can all adjust our schedules and make it fit.
I got to imagine, and it seems to be the case with just about every school and every coach I've talked to this summer. Sounds weird to say that, but yeah, I guess this is summer. Since everything seems to be pushed back a bit this summer, where I know it seems like a lot of teams are just basically lifting in June, and that's about it. And more and more, everyone's seeming to pointing towards early July. I got to figure that gives you a little bit of wiggle room right now to get stuff in place.
Yeah, I think that it's just the easiest model right now. One, when you look at the quick turnaround, you want to give the bodies time to rest and recover. Those bumps and bruises that come from a football season. So yeah, June will be a heavy training. And then when you get in July, you'll get in more using your contact days to, for us doing install and learning, what players can do what.
I mean, I'm sure we could do an entire podcast just on this alone, but favorite couple of memories from Phillips?
Yeah. I just think if you ask me the one memory, it would definitely be the two memories in particular, but one was this past season, the last game against Taft. It was a pretty special moment. Obviously, you didn't know then it was going to be the last time you were there, but we had the game against Loyola, got smacked up pretty good, and then the next week we played Taft, and it was the typical trap game, right? Because you're coming off a big game that we kind of took as this is our chance to do something great, and you could just feel the letdown. It was the seniors' last game, so we made practice a little more relaxed and fun, and didn't prepare the way we normally would. And we came out and played terrible for the first quarter and a half, and we're down 14-0. And Taft's well coached, and they're a good ball club, but it shouldn't have been there. And we made it, had to come back, and we're able to pull out the game with a late touchdown, and just with all that had transpired over the year, with COVID, with not being able to get together, with the death of Coach Larson, to see the enjoyment and just the kids being kids after the game was pretty special. And I think even our parents felt it, that were there, that there was just one of those unique moments in life where you can always look back and say that was really, really cool to be a part of. And then the other was the 2017 game against Loyola. I don't know if I've told you this story before, but we make the goal line stand, and Coach Larson goes running across the field, jumping up and dancing, and next thing you know, he pulled his hamstring and fell to the ground. One of the unbelievable, you just man, what a special moment. Just a story to tell through time.
I was literally right alongside him on the sideline when he did that, and I'll never forget it. That just awesome. Absolutely awesome. So again, just wishing you the best at Sandburg. I know that you're going to take it on full force and go after it. And again, just good luck. I'm sure you're going to be busy this summer, but I'm sure I'll run into you somewhere. And go get him, my friend.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for all you do for high school football in Illinois.
All right. He is Troy McAllister. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. A lot more coming your way this